I really do not understand the Kliff Kingsbury hate. Ever since he was hired by the Arizona Cardinals, this team has done nothing but improve under him every single season. Year 1, 2019, they went 5, 10, and 1. Year 2, they went 8 and 8. Year 3, last season, in 2021, they went 11 and 6, and they made it to the playoffs for the first time in a while. And yes, I understand that their wild card loss to the Los Angeles Rams was really disappointing. And I do understand that how the second half of the year, after their 7-0 start, was also disappointing as well. But people act as if Kliff Kingsbury is one of the worst coaches in the NFL, despite this team constantly improving under him year after year after year. And he doesn't receive the respect that he properly deserves. Not just from the national media, but even a good amount of Arizona Cardinals fans, I feel, are really overly critical of Kliff Kingsbury. Yes, I understand that he struggles to make adjustments, not just in game, but during the middle portion of the year. Yes, his play calling and clock management aren't the best. But at the end of the day, no NFL head coach is perfect. Every NFL head coach has flaws. You're never going to have a perfect head coach. And that's just like me and you as human beings. There's no such thing as the perfect person in this world. Everybody has their flaws and everybody has their strengths. But I really feel that Kliff Kingsbury deserves more credit than what he is given. And it's weird that people say that he's carried by Kyler Murray when he's won a game without Kyler Murray. And also, Kyler Murray was a quarterback when he was coming out of Oklahoma. He wasn't just one of those QBs that you can just plug and play on any given team with any given head coach. It took the right offensive mind to put Kyler Murray in a system that he can have success in, because he's undersized and he can't have success on any other team. This is an offense that is designed for Kyler Murray. So for Kliff Kingsbury, for the people out there who say he's only had this much success because of Kyler Murray, I have to disagree with you. Because at the end of the day, he designed the perfect offense tailored around Kyler Murray's strengths. If you were to put Kyler Murray on a team such as the Jacksonville Jaguars or the New York Giants, do you think he would still be as good on those teams compared to the Arizona Cardinals? I think that Kliff Kingsbury is a coach that people have this narrative about him because when he was first hired by the Arizona Cardinals, it was a really controversial hiring because he didn't have much success at Texas Tech, and people are still latched on to that narrative, weirdly. And I haven't really heard anybody talk about the improvement that this team has made year after year under Kliff Kingsbury. So, how good are the Cardinals going to be this year? Are they going to be better or worse in 2022? Because this team is pretty interesting. This is a team that was really solid against playoff teams last year. They had a record of 5-3 against teams that had a record of 500 or better. However, this is a team that definitely disappointed and played down to the level of competition. There were a lot of games that they lost that they had no business losing. Mainly, that loss to the Carolina Panthers was pretty much, I think, the low point of the Arizona Cardinals season. But when you look at their schedule, yes, they do have one of the more difficult schedules in the NFL, but I do think that it's still manageable enough for them to make it to the playoffs, because I still think that Arizona is a playoff team. And yes, you do have concerns about the offensive line, but this offensive line is not as bad as people think. yes, it is old, but it's still good enough to get the job done. You have left tackle DJ Humphreys, who I'm pretty sure, unless you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, you probably don't know that DJ Humphreys made it to his first ever Pro Bowl last year. He's 28, going on 29 years old. You have left guard Justin Pugh, who has been flirting with retirement, but he came back for another year. He's been solid for Arizona. He's been one of the better pass blocking interior offensive linemen in the NFL for over the last couple of years. At center, you're going to have Rodney Hudson, who a couple of minutes ago, it was reported that he is going to be coming back and playing for another season with the Arizona Cardinals. He still is one of the best centers in the NFL. Maybe he may not be top 5 anymore, but he's probably still top 6, top 7 in the league. So really the only question that the Arizona Cardinals have on this offensive line is on the right side. You're going to have Will Hernandez, who is expected to be their starter at right guard. And I think that he could be in for a very solid season. I think this potentially could be the best year of his career. You want to know why? Because he's reunited with his former college coach and Sean Kugler, who is the Arizona Cardinals run game coordinator and offensive line coach. And I think that Sean Kugler has done a pretty solid job with this Arizona Cardinals offensive line. And I think that he's going to be able to get the most out of Will Hernandez simply for the fact that they have so much familiarity going back to their days in college together. At right tackle, you're going to have Kelvin Beachum there. He's up there in age as well. Maybe Josh Jones can end up beating him out, but I still think that he's going to get the start there. So I think that this offensive line is decent. I think that it's a top 16 offensive line. I think that is good enough to get the job done for Arizona. Now, what's going to happen when the majority of these guys end up deciding to retire next season, that remains to be decided. But at least going into 2022, I think that if you are a Cardinals fan, I don't think that you should be all that worried about the offensive line. I think that it should be okay. At wide receiver, you have AJ Green, who was fairly solid when you consider the fact that he's getting up there in age, and he isn't the same AJ Green that we saw when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, but he was really reliable at times for Arizona. You just traded for Hollywood Brown not too long ago, reuniting him with Kyler Murray. I think that he's going to be a big boost to this offense, especially when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. And I've always said this about Hollywood Brown, even when he was coming out of Oklahoma, and he was drafted in the first round by the Baltimore Ravens. Marquise Brown is a Robin, not a Batman. He's really good when you have a true number one wide receiver lined up on the opposite side of him. And the Cardinals are going to have that when DeAndre Hopkins comes back from his suspension. But if you need him to be your number one wide receiver for a whole entire season, you're going to be disappointed. Because he's not that. He has inconsistencies when it comes to consistently catching the ball. Sometimes he struggles to get off press coverage. But he is a very good number 2 wide receiver and a okay low-end wide receiver 1 if you need him to be for a couple of weeks. But for a whole entire season, he's not really all that great as your number 1 option. But when you give him a very good wide receiver 1 alongside of him, he's really great. He may be one of the best wide receiver 2s in the NFL. You also do have Rondell Moore, who we should see more of this season. Zach Ertz was pretty solid last year. And I'm really excited about rookie tight end Trey McBride, who I'm going to be making another segment about over the next couple of days. He was one of the best tight ends coming out of the draft out of Colorado State. At running back, you have James Conner. I kind of think that James Conner's season was pretty okay. It surprised me. I'm not going to lie. And we knew that James Conner was a above average to good running back. The problem with him is that could he stay healthy? And he went to the Pro Bowl last year. You also have Darrell Williams, Eno Benjamin. So your running back position is fine. However, on the defensive side of the football, there's a lot of concern. where is your pass rush going to come from? Because you lost Chandler Jones to the Raiders. Okay, you have Marcus Golden there, but who's going to emerge as that second pass rusher? We don't really know. And I'm pretty sure that nobody really has faith in Devin Kennard. I think that's safe to say that Devin Kennard's best playing days are behind him. He's 30. He's getting up there in age. And although he is somebody who has came in and provided you a good spark at times, I think at this point in his career, he's just a solid rotational pass rusher. I really do like Myjai Sanders, third-round pick out of Cincinnati. This is somebody who has a lot of potential, good wingspan. Hopefully he can put on some more weight before the season starts. You go back and you watch his game against Alabama. I think that was the best game of his collegiate career. And it may not say so in the stat sheets, but against Alabama, man, he was wreaking havoc. Every single snap, Alabama tried to throw the football. I saw Myjai Sanders. Almost called him Najee Harris. I saw Myjai Sanders getting off blocks and causing chaos in the run game and also in the passing game. It's just no way you couldn't see 21 and what kind of damage he was doing to Alabama's offensive line in the semifinals of that playoff game. And you also do have another rookie who you also drafted in the second round out of San Diego State, and Cameron Thomas, who probably is a little bit more polished than Myjai Sanders, but I think that Myjai Sanders has a little bit more potential with his length, his athleticism, and if he can fill on some more weight, I think that he could be really good for Arizona. So you're looking for one of those two guys to pop, and I definitely think that one of them are going to end up being pretty solid, because it's just no way that you're going to tell me that Arizona is going to be comfortable with Devin Kennard out there. Inside linebacker, I think could really leap for Arizona this year. Isaiah Simmons really was playing in his first full season for Arizona, because his rookie season, he wasn't on the field all that much. And a big part of that was due to lackluster play. But I feel that Isaiah Simmons really took a big leap in development last season. He was better in pass coverage. He was making plays on the football. And he may not be the superstar that many of us had hoped that he would be when the Arizona Cardinals took him a couple of years ago out of Clemson. However, I do think that he can kind of be similar to Tremaine Edmonds. Not in terms of skill set, but in terms of what they do for their defenses. Tremaine Edmonds isn't one of the best linebackers in the NFL, but he does his job on the Bills' defense. And I think for Isaiah Simmons, he does the job that the Arizona Cardinals need him to do. He's not good against the run, but we already knew when he was coming out of Clemson, if he had to play inside linebacker, that he most likely wasn't going to be all that great against the run simply because of his weight. However, he is really great in pass coverage, and I definitely think that that matters more because the NFL is a passing league. If you can't stop the pass 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win too many games. Zaven Collins, like Isaiah Simmons during his rookie season, didn't play that much. And I don't know what it is with the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe they just don't know how to get the most out of their rookies year one. But he only played 20% of the Arizona Cardinals defensive snaps last year. That's according to Pro Football Reference. So I think that Zaven Collins is going to be in for a pretty solid 2022 campaign. And I'm really excited to see what both Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins bring to the table from their linebacker positions. I think that they could be pretty solid this year as a tandem. The secondary, when you look at safety, Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker, it doesn't get no better than that. That's one of the best safety duos in the NFL. But cornerback may be one of the worst. Outside of Byron Murphy, who is decent, you don't really have anybody that if you're a Cardinals fan, you're going to have a lot of confidence in. Marco Wilson wasn't that great as a rookie, but it's not as if Marco Wilson was a first-round pick. This was somebody who was drafted in the middle portions of the NFL draft. And anytime that you draft a cornerback day 2 or day 3 of the draft, you have to view him as somebody who has starter upside, but is going to be a developmental player for the next couple of years. So for Marco Wilson, you're looking for slight improvement. Now, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're hoping that he ends up playing at an all-pro level. But for Marco Wilson, you're looking for him to improve this season. And hopefully 2023, he ends up becoming that Pro Bowl caliber player that many coaches on the Cardinals staff believe that he can end up developing into. But anytime that you're taking a cornerback in the middle portions or the late portions of the NFL draft, you have to understand that there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some growing pains when you draft a cornerback in the later rounds of the draft versus drafting a cornerback in the first round, because I think that cornerback is a instant impact position if you draft the right one in the first round. But if you're drafting one later, it's going to take a couple of years for them to blossom and develop. But I think that Marco Wilson could end up improving this year. I think that he will. But outside of him, I mean, who else are they going to have playing cornerback? I'm pretty sure you don't know. I don't know. We're probably going to get our answers after preseason and training camp. So overall, I have Arizona at 9 or 10 wins. And I don't really think that the record is going to be indicative of if Arizona is going to be better. It's really going to depend on if they can get to the playoffs and if they can do better than just losing in blowout fashion in the wild card round. I think that if Arizona can get to the divisional round, I think it's a W. And even if Arizona is able to get to the playoffs, I still think that it's a W, because Arizona at this point is a consistent playoff contender. Now, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender yet. They definitely need to improve the cornerback position. But I definitely feel that the Arizona Cardinals are a team that is trending in the right direction. And I haven't officially released my record predictions at the moment, but I think I have them going either 9-8 or 10-7. So I don't think that they're going to be worse than last year in a sense. I do think that this team is still going to be able to make it to the playoffs. And depending on who they play in the first round, I think that they could potentially move on to the divisional round. As long as Kyler Murray is able to stay healthy, you're going to have D-Hop back. The defense is definitely going to take a step back. I think that Vince Joseph, isn't really all that great as a defensive coordinator. I think he's pretty average. But this is a team that is going to have the success, if they do have any, this year, based on how good the offense is going to be. And I think that Arizona's offense is good enough to outscore the majority of opponents that they're going to be facing this year. Now, their offensive line isn't the greatest, but it's not going to be dirt awful like how a lot of people think that it is, okay? You have a lot of winnable games later on in this schedule. You start off the season against the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Rams. That is a really tough 3-game schedule to start off the year with. But I think that Arizona is going to be able to at least win one of those games. Start out 1-2, then you face Carolina, Philadelphia, and Seattle. I think that you potentially could go 2-1 during that stretch. So I think for Arizona, their schedule is pretty tough. But I do think that this is a team, when you look at the current state of the NFC, that should be able to at least be able to compete for that 6 or 7 seed in the NFC. So let me know how you guys feel about the Arizona Cardinals. Do you guys think that they would be better or worse in 2022?